through storms, unshaken, unbowed. From trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him.
Welcome everyone to the Crazy Cryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining me this Monday morning or afternoon on my side, but a happy time of the day wherever it may be in your neck of the world. But I do know, guys, I had a very odd little thing occur as I was starting the stream. It said that YouTube was not up, but I can see everyone chatting inside of the YouTube room. And so I'm not really certain what happened right there, but if anything odd is being shown over on the YouTube side, please let me know, because it was very weird. It said when I started the stream that I was only streaming to Twitch, but I went over and looked on the YouTube channel and it showed the YouTube channel currently live. So not very certain why that occurred, but just a heads up if anything odd occurs on the YouTube side this morning. But what is up, everybody? Gonna go through and do good mornings, and then we're gonna jump into a little bit of news, and we're gonna look at just how bad the market is doing today, because yes, we are looking at some pretty darn low prices. But let's avoid looking at all of the red for a little bit longer, and say good mornings. Good morning, Mile High Trish. Happy Monday to you. Good morning, Kukla. Happy Monday there as well. What's up, Epicenter? Welcome. NM Hiker. Welcome, Miss Jeannie. Welcome, Nancy K. Love. Welcome, Robin Bird. Good morning, Miss Jeannie. NM Hiker, I didn't get a notification. I sought you out. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was, I'm not certain. Something very odd occurred that has never happened through StreamYard setting up the YouTube. So I'm not certain, but if everything's working okay right now, I guess I won't complain. But yes, no, I'm sorry about that one, NM Hiker. I'm not certain what's going on right there. Yes, an important one, guys. Please do remember the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes and not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. An important one. Thank you. Oh, Miss Jeannie, our 20-year-old kitty went to be with the Lord yesterday. Mopar will be missed. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Miss Jeannie. 20 years. That part of the family. No, I'm so sorry to hear that, Miss Jeannie. Yeah. Well, the odd thing is that it's the weirdness of the window that causes the brightness, and the kitty cats, well, now they're bummed because they don't get to look out as well. Okay, I couldn't find you. Trish told me the room was open. Okay, so there was something very weird. There was something very weird going on then, for certain, Kukla, because yeah, it did. I saw the room open. I saw it existed, but on StreamYard, it says that YouTube was not live. Now everything is good because I went back in at the last second and re-added YouTube to the stream. So yeah, very weird. Hopefully it does not make hopefully that does not become a regular occurrence for YouTube. What's up, Neil Brooks? Brooks Pressure Washing. Howdy, Zester from 18-degree Graham, North Carolina. Neil, that is way too cold. Way too cold coming out of North Kakalaki. I've got a few messages. My brother sent me a photo of snow a week or so ago coming down in his area in the Piedmont Triad. And yeah, I've been hearing it's been a nasty, nasty one in North Carolina. This not even really winter for North Carolina. Typically, North Carolina, if you're going to see a snowstorm, it's going to be, at least in the triad, it's going to be January or February. Very rarely would we have a white Christmas. But yes, no. Stay inside, stay warm, Brooks. Stay warm. Oh, hey, Nancy K. I got a notification asking if I wanted to be notified when Zester goes live. Oh, that's cool. Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Thoughts and prayers to Miss Jeannie today, because I know that is a tough one. That is. Zester, are you going to NC for Christmas? Your pops is going. No, I will not. I will actually be having Christmas in Puerto Rico. And the mom and grandmother are down here and they moved down. So I will have Christmas with the mom and grandma down here on the island this year. Won't be going back for Christmas, but I will be making a trip back to see family sometime at the very beginning of the year, I believe. Oh, wow, Nancy, we won't be able to travel to kids over Highway 2 for Xmas due to washed out roads, a month to repair. Oh, wow, that is crazy, Nancy. That is. Well, good morning, Michelle Newth. Good morning. Hopefully the lighting is a little bit better now and you can see me. And yes, all right, though. Let's look at exactly what you said there, Brooks. Looks like a good time to buy any crypto. Let's go ahead and jump into it today, guys, and check out where the market is currently sitting. Hopefully it's improved since about 15 minutes ago. Hopefully it has, but I'm not very confident. So currently looking at a pretty much a universally red market. We have got Bitcoin sitting at 86,659. We've got Ethereum below 3K sitting at 29.92. BNB 855. XRP sitting at $1.92. We broke below our support level at $2, which was not fun to see. Solana sitting at $126.36. Overall, the market is pretty much universally down. Besides privacy cryptocurrencies, Monero and Zcash, cryptocurrencies that are specifically in the privacy or security sector, they tend to be doing very well right now, or maybe not very well, but disproportionately better than the rest of the different crypto sectors out there. And so as you can see, Zcash sitting here, $414 a pop, 3.2% up over the past 7 days. Monero sitting at 10.4% up over the past 7 days. And so fairly substantial movement over there. That does kind of continue to make me excited about Midnight, because Midnight is also in that privacy area for all of those that mind it, etc. But, well, Midnight, not exactly looking like the same exact chart, but it is brand new. It just came out. Still not looking bad, sitting at 6 cents. 6 cents per Midnight. Actually doing very well, in my opinion, all things considered, considering the nature of how people mined and earned their original coins. Now, this brings me to an update that I need to make. Last Wednesday, I was very excited to jump over and do a video showing people how to claim their Midnight. Well, turns out I did not have a single one of my wallets that is thawing during this time. Now, remember, there are thaw periods where you get to claim your Midnight tokens that you mined or that you claim during the Glacier drop from your Bitcoin or your XRP, whatever. Okay, those thaw out. Well, every single person out there, or well, every single wallet essentially had a random number generator that generated the day in which they make their first claims. Now, I so happen with my 10 or 11 wallets that I use throughout the mining and the claim phase and everything else, I don't have a single wallet that is allowed to claim yet. And so I was not able to actually record me claiming. But what I have heard from Trish and from others is that some folks have had no problem claiming, some folks have had issues claiming. And I know that there have been some reports about that one circulating around. And so I did want to talk about that real quick, just because I know folks are wondering where that video might be before we jump into the news. Some folks have had issues claiming their night tokens. In particular, there were some issues at first with hardware wallets. Those have apparently been patched and fixed. But as a heads up, guys, there are some happening. And unfortunately, I don't have a wallet that can claim yet. I'm going to have a wallet that can claim in about a week from now. I'll be able to record myself doing the claim. Unfortunately, until then, I don't have one. And so that video is going to be somewhat delayed in that regard. What I will say, though, is just so everybody knows, you have a long time to make these claims. The claim period for this is over a year long. Or about essentially a year long. And so do not fret if you're not able to, or if you had an issue with the claim portal. I still have the link sitting in the description that will take you to the claim portal. You will come over and you will see this, where you are able to go through and redeem your night and go through the process. I found it to be easier to enter the address personally in order to check my allocation. The thing is, I went through and checked all of my allocations, and needless to say, I did not end up with any that are capable of claiming yet. And so you may be in a very different situation on that one. You may already be able to claim, but if you're in the same spot as I am and you don't have any of your wallets that you used for the mining able to claim just yet, don't worry. It's going to be 6 one way, half a dozen the other. We're going to get all of our midnight tokens. They've been very, very, very responsive with any issues on the claim portal for folks, and they've already fixed the vast majority of the bugs. And so I think by the time that I get to make that video in about a week's time and I get to do the claim myself, that we're definitely not going to be looking at any problems. For those who have already gotten to claim theirs, congratulations. And that is awesome. I know I'm still tallying mine up. I'm kind of curious to hear what numbers some folks manage to mine during that scavenger mine phase. I've heard some crazy numbers that some folks have gotten to. Mine's not going to be very impressive because I was moving during the 21 days. I had internet issues during the 21 days. I did not get to capitalize on it as well as some did. But all right. There's the short little update on midnight. Let's go ahead and get over to the news of the day. And of course, guys, I know y'all are, well, you can laugh or you can cry. But I've got great news for XRP. But don't tell the chart. Do not tell the chart about all of this great news because, well, apparently logic is out the window. And so XRP may be sitting at $1.91, broke down below its support levels of $2, continuing to fall literally as I speak. And yet, well, XRP ETF inflows have surpassed $1 billion. XRP ETF have recorded inflows for 20 consecutive days. And have now surpassed over $1 billion inside of specifically XRP ETFs. This is very, very impressive if you consider how short of a time period XRP ETFs have even been an option. This is even more impressive when you consider that, well, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs are seeing net outflows on these same days. And so while the market is struggling, while Bitcoin and Ethereum are seeing less and less institutional interest, and we're seeing outflows from those ETFs, we have seen 20 consecutive days of positive inflows of cash flowing into XRP. I know I laughed the second that I saw this morning. I immediately was like, oh, great, awesome news for XRP. Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted to see net inflows. As a matter of fact, 10 billion is our target number. that many analysts had pointed towards as being the target number that XRP needed in order to have its next breakout run to, potentially $6 to $10 per coin. Well, we're already 1/10 of the way there. And yet, well, the price does not indicate that in any form or fashion. And so this one was one that I found. I mean, I guess it's one of those like, you laugh instead of cry type situations on this one, because yes, this is very, very nice to hear, but it doesn't really feel all that nice when you're looking at XRP continuing to fall in value. But yes, let's check this one out. And so spot XRP, and so that's even more important. These are specifically spot XRP ETFs, have continued to attract investor interest, drawing in almost $1 billion in inflows since their launch. Unfortunately, this didn't help the bulls hold the price above the psychological $2 support level. Spot XRP ETFs saw inflows for 20 consecutive days, totaling $1.2 billion. Now, despite this, XRP's price has extended its downtrend, slipping below a key moving support level. This was $1 billion in just 3 weeks of inflows. And so this was extremely, extremely fast. According to data from So Value, XRP ETFs added 20.2 million on Friday, bringing cumulative inflows to 990.9 million and total assets to over $1.2 billion. The Franklin XRP ETF, ticker symbol XRPZ, led the charge with $8.7 billion in inflows on Friday, aka 3 days ago, bringing its net assets to $175 million. Bitwise XRP and Canary XRP were the only other products that recorded inflows on December 12th. Grayscale's XRP Trust and 21 Shares XRP ETF did not see any flows. Now, such a strong start for XRP ETF reflects confidence among institutional investors. By comparison, spot Bitcoin ETFs saw 49 million in inflows on the same day. Spot Ether posted 19.4 million in outflows, reducing their cumulative inflows to 13.1 billion. The funds also shed 42.3 million on Thursday. And so, while the rest of the different ETF products continue to struggle and continue to just have very, very inconsistent days, XRP has remained consistent for 3 weeks with net inflows. We don't know what today brings for that, and so we'll have new data. We don't know whether the trend is going to extend, and maybe we're going to be having a stream in 30 days from now talking about 50 days of net inflows to XRP ETFs. We don't know, but what it is an extremely good sign. I know that seems very, very counterintuitive when you consider the markets and you consider the price, but ultimately logic has left the building. The cryptocurrency markets are in such a flux. The global financial system is in such a flux. Logic is just not here. And so until logic re-enters the chat room, I don't think we're going to be able to look at things and expect them to work out the way that it would make sense. Ultimately, logic's not here right now. And so best you can do is leave a message. Because in all honesty, you would look at this and you would look at XRP in particular, and you would say, well, everything is remaining extremely positive. We're seeing massive net inflows. We're really not seeing major sell pressure coming from a lot of long-term holders. What is occurring here? Ultimately, the only culprit you can point to would be that the XRP team is selling. And remember, guys, we've talked about this one every month. XRP is released from escrow for XRP investors, for the XRP management team, and then they make sales of that based off of how much money they need. And then they relock whatever they don't sell that month. This creates negative pressure on the markets. This creates sell pressure. And this is inflationary. And so really the only culprit you can point to right now is that we may find out in the next couple of weeks, or really in any moment, that a lot of these sales are actually coming from the XRP team. They could be buying another company, could be up to something, or it could have nothing to do with it. It could just be that we are looking at a very, very, very odd market. But so, yes, how do y'all feel about that one? I had a feeling that I was going to get some fairly salty comments when I talked about how positive the news was for XRP this morning, because that would have been what I would have said. I would be in complete agreement on the sodium podium when it comes down to being told today that, oh, we've got great XRP news. Well, it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel like great news as we sit there and we have to wonder whether we're not going to drop back into the $1.80 range, literally at a moment's notice. All right, though. With that one, let's go ahead and continue along. I've got a few fun ones, but first things first, before we go to more of the news, let's just see how our portfolio looks right now. All right, let's check out how our portfolio is currently looking. We are sitting at $875.75. We've got $801 sitting in the trade balance and $74.67 currently staked in the form of Monad. And so we are down $50.66 just today with the current market actions. And so not a lot of fun over there on the portfolio side either. In all honesty, right now, what I feel like I am more so doing is as I'm continuing to use my card, as I'm continuing to refer people over to it and to talk to anyone that I see about the Gemini card, all I'm really doing right now is managing to just hold level. The market is dropping. And while I continue to be able to add small amounts through the reward program, all I'm really doing is trying to hold right essentially the point, because at this point we would have in terms of overall rewards that we have received cumulatively, we should be sitting well over $1,000 at this point in the challenge. Matter of fact, somewhere around $1,150 is where we would be sitting at in the challenge of what we have genuinely brought in when we received the reward. But with the market going down like this, well, portfolio is definitely taking it on the chin. But in my opinion, there's nothing to worry about there. Hey, an XRP is worth an XRP. And so the more important thing here, in all honesty, is really to look at the amount of XRP that we're stacking up. And we'll let all of the cards land where they may in the future on that one. All right. Let me look over here at some questions before I jump to the next one. All right. Good morning, Franco. Good morning. All right. AHD 9791. That's actually a great question right there. And so Coinbase is an exchange. Let me go over and actually show this one on CoinGecko. This might be a great way of kind of visualizing this and being able to point out that difference between the two. Might be because Base is actually essentially there could be some, maybe I should do a deeper dive on this one, but from the outside, Base is essentially it's essentially a blockchain being operated by Coinbase. Coinbase is an exchange. And so Coinbase is a centralized exchange. It's where you actually take things and exchange your dollars for crypto, your cryptos for other cryptos. What Base is they created Base essentially to provide for cheaper transactions, faster transactions going around on the blockchains. And so that's an important question, AHD, because I do think that that's one that probably has confused folks. And I never really even thought about it until you presented the question that way. I never even connected the two in that way. Base and Coinbase. And so that's actually a very good question, AHD. I'm glad that you asked that one because I bet others have been wondering as well. And so, yes, Coinbase is going to be where you go in order to exchange. And so you'll see here, we go with like Coinbase. We're going to be looking at an exchange, the Coinbase exchange. And so you go over to your account, things of that nature. You got all your different trading pairs and things that you can participate on Coinbase with. It's your means of getting from fiat to crypto and from crypto to fiat. Base is actually a tool for once you are in the crypto space. Essentially, it's a layer 2 blockchain that is just operating off of the pre-existing ones. But we could do a deep dive on that one and probably give everybody a whole lot more clarity on it. Think that would be a good idea. All right. Franco, it's all interconnected to the RV. Clearly, I read that the clarity will pass in less than 2 weeks. The Clarity Act. Franco, I'm very, 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 very optimistic at the moment on the Clarity Act. And I strongly believe that we are looking at a process that is laid out in stone. Essentially, we have got to have multiple different cryptocurrency related bills, legislation that is going to need to pass before we are ready for the Bitcoin Act. The big dog, the big one that we've talked about, the one that was announced by Senator Cynthia Lummis back in July with President Trump at the Bitcoin conference of 2024. And so I strongly believe that we need to see all of these pass first. And so getting the Clarity Act out of the way is going to be a huge stepping stone, in my opinion. Epicenter, great if you're buying it. Absolutely is. It is definitely the time. All right. Always buy the dip if you can. I wish I had a little bit more. Wish I had more gas sitting in the reserves. Franco, definitely looking at the prices right now. But also, there's a large argument to be made that we could see a lot lower prices. And we'll talk about that one after I go through some more questions. But there's definitely a likelihood that this may be viewed as only a small discount opportunity in comparison to one of the flash crashes we could see come in the next months. And I still have 60% of my stable coins that I had been sitting around with and waiting to make purchases with. I still have them sitting on the sidelines. I spent about 40% of what I had sitting on the sidelines for my personal portfolio during the last crash where we saw prices get down to lower 80,000s on Bitcoin. I spent about 40% of what I had. I've still got some stable coins sitting off to the side, and I'm still holding them off to the side. But we'll talk about that one after I answer these questions. I've got an article to go in on that one. Miss Jeannie, are they suppressing the cryptonautzester? How come when silver is increasing, XRP and XLM don't go up also? And so, well, Miss Jeannie, there's definitely not. There are times when the cryptocurrency market and the precious metal markets correlate. There are times. There have been a few fairly famous moments throughout Bitcoin's existence where Bitcoin and the price of gold have seemed to move hand in hand. But Miss Cheney, something to remember is that XRP and XLM are not backed by gold or silver. They're not. And so just because silver is increasing, it's not going to be necessarily a positive for XRP and XLM. I know that many rumors are out there that XRP and XLM are backed by gold and silver. Unfortunately, those are not true. And it's not. And so XRP and XLM plan on tokenizing silver on their blockchains. And so they are going to offer tokenized silver at a certain point in time. And it's going to be awesome because you're going to have the benefits, the strength and stability of precious metals while also having the liquidity and usability of the blockchain where you're actually going to be able to hold gold, hold silver, and still be able to actually sell it and use it. Because essentially precious metals, the reason I believe precious metal markets are skyrocketing right now is nothing to do with precious metals. It is the blockchain technology that is coming. Gold and silver are capable of achieving those valuations, not on their own, but because of the blockchain. In my opinion, it's going to open up the possibilities of gold and silver to a massive, entirely new world. Essentially, you're going to be able to make purchases with gold and silver. You're going to be able to actually do that on the blockchain. And so, unfortunately, Miss Jeannie, XRP and the entire crypto market is not following precious metals right now, but we are going to see tokenized precious metals on XRP and XLM. Miss Jeannie. Oh, I learned something new. I thought they already were. They're going to do it, Miss Jeannie, but they're never going to be backed by it. So XRP will never be backed by silver or gold. What will happen is that there will be XRP gold, and that will be its own token that exists on the XRP ledger. And what it will be is it will be a representation of 1 gold ounce. And so there will be a vault which has a gold ounce in it. You will have an XRP gold. You will be able to spend it. You'll be able to sell it. You'll be able to loan it, earn interest in gold. You'll be able to do everything that you would normally be able to do with a crypto or a stock or something of that nature, but now with gold and silver. And at any point in time, you'll be able to go and say, hey, actually, I would like to take physical possession of that gold ounce. And so what it really is it's going to allow for you to have you're going to be able to digitally represent a physical good without there being that possibility of fraud. And so it won't be like paper silver and paper gold because the blockchain gets rid of that problem. And so, yes, Miss Jeannie, I do very much look forward, though, to tokenized gold and silver on XRP and XLM. And do not worry, though, Miss Jeannie, that is something that has been spreading around the internet for many, many years now. Brooks pressure washing. Zester, is it safe to leave my crypto on my Gemini card, or should I move it to a Ledger wallet? Brooks, on this one, I am personally keeping mine over on Gemini because it's very easy for me to essentially give y'all an update. It's very easy to do the staking. It's very easy to present it. At a certain point in time, Brooks, I would definitely start moving it over to a Ledger hardware wallet, but I'm not worried about having my crypto on Gemini in particular for this challenge at all. Ultimately, it's another U.S. company backed by the Winklevoss twins. They were the original creators of the Gemini exchange. I'm not worried about having the funds sitting over there in Gemini right now. Long term, though, absolutely, Brooks, I would recommend getting it over to a hardware wallet. But I'll probably set some type of dollar target for that, maybe 2,000 or something of that nature, where I will go ahead and I'll just do a video and I'll show everybody me moving everything over. But I won't be able to do that with all of it because I am actually staking on Gemini. And so I do have $74.90 that is currently staked in the form of Monad that's earning, well, let me just pop on over to that screen. It should be earning up to 12% APR. And so Monad, I've got $74.90, 3,642 Monad, APR up to 12% APR. And so if I want to continue staking this on Gemini, I'm going to have to leave my Monad over there. And so I'll have to make that call and see what the options are when it does hit a dollar value where I think it starts to make a lot of sense to get it off the exchange. I don't worry about keeping dollars that I'm planning on moving on an exchange. I take things off an exchange when there is no question I'm not selling. And so at a certain point, I'll start moving XRP over to its own wallet. All right.
Crazy Chad, Jesus or Otto can talk forever. I hate to be in a conversation with him and Andy. Hey, it would be an interesting conversation, though, Crazy Chester. It would be a darn interesting conversation. Miss Jeannie, I have a Newton account. I've never had a Newton account, Miss Jeannie. Is it safer to move my crypto onto cold storage like Ellipal? Miss Jeannie, you're always going to be safer on a cold wallet, on a hardware wallet. It is the safest that you're ever going to be able to get something on an individual retail investor level. It's going to be in a hardware wallet. Now, Miss Jeannie, you always have to keep in mind with a hardware wallet, it's still not infallible. You still have to keep your password safe. You still have to keep your secret phrases safe, things of that nature. But ultimately, Miss Jeannie, there is that's where my Fort Knox is. My Fort Knox is sitting on a Ledger hardware wallet, and that's where it will always sit. And so I highly recommend that you do, Miss Jeannie. The way that I like to explain it is that what's in your centralized exchange, what's in a software wallet, that is the same idea as this. That is money you are walking around with. Your hardware wallet, that is your Fort Knox. That's your gun safe, your bank vault. That's money that you're not planning on spending. You don't need it. And so I would not walk around with my retirement in my wallet. Wouldn't be a safe idea. I get robbed or mugged one time and there goes my retirement. It's the same idea here in the cryptocurrency space. When you are using a centralized exchange, when you are using a software wallet, that is your walking around money. And so if you think about it that way, it makes it a lot easier to figure out when you want to make that switch. And so once that dollar value hits a point where it's no longer walking around money, you need to be moving it over to a hardware wallet. You definitely do. And so when it comes down to hardware wallets and which one is the best, I recommend Ledger hardware wallets. That's the one that I work with. I've got tons of them. That's the one that people who work in blockchain technology and work for companies, they use Ledgers. And so I recommend Ledgers, but in all honesty, all I care about is that you have your crypto on a hardware wallet. I don't care what company you get it from. I just think that you absolutely should be looking at making that move, Miss Jeannie. All right. Holistic, not looking to be in fear, but can crypto be stolen from a cold wallet even if it's not physically plugged into a computer? Holistic, this is a very, very important question. A very, very important question. Now, your hardware wallet is only as secure as your security practices. And so, Holistic, if you were to give somebody your 24 words, you have given them everything. It does not matter that you have a hardware wallet. It doesn't matter. I have your crypto now. And so, if you have given someone the 24 words that you wrote down, your secret phrase, if you have given someone those 24 words, it does not matter. Your crypto is gone and it will never come back. Not ever. We're never going to get it back. It's gone. And so, Holistic, that I'm glad you asked that question because that is a way your ledger would not be plugged in this scenario, but your crypto would be gone. And so your 24 words are the ultimate safeguard. You do not let anyone have them. If your mama asks you for your 24 words, you tell her no. If your kids ask for your 24 words, you tell them no. No one on this planet gets your 24 words except you. Or you make a legal contract in order to do other things. I do know. I have family members that I trust that do have my words. They do. But they also know exactly how to store them, how to keep them. They know what it means. They understand it. And so, yes, and Holistic, if you have not given anyone your 24 words, the only way to take your crypto is with it plugged in. If you have given someone your 24 words, doesn't matter. It's gone. And that's how they get you, Holistic. Whenever you hear about someone having crypto stolen off of a hardware wallet,
it was not stolen off of a hardware wallet. It wasn't. It's a headline. It's an oversimplification that is not accurate. Ledger hardware wallets have never been hacked, ever. But many people have had their crypto stolen from Ledger wallets. They gave someone the 24 words. And so, Holistic, as long as no one on this planet has your 24 words, that statement is correct. That statement is 100% correct as long as no one has your 24 words. I hope that one helped on the explanation. I'm sorry, that one is, I hope maybe that provided some clarity, but I know that is a very, very important question that you just asked there, Holistic, because a lot of people are under the impression that it has to be plugged in no matter what, and that's not true. That's not true. Your 24 words are the ultimate security. And if they're gone, the wallet's gone. All right. I know some folks have. And so Mile High talking with Franco, bought a Tangum to test, and it doesn't work with either of my phones. And Frank saying, yeah, it should. That's not right. Frank, I know. I've heard a lot of folks, though, that have had similar problems to Mile High. And then I've heard tons of folks that are just like you, Franco, and it's perfect. It seems to be very odd. I wonder if it is literally models of Android or Apple phones or something like that. Oh, I got a decent wallet on Black Friday for the larger screen. That's awesome, Deborah. That's awesome. The larger screens are very, very nice. They are very, very, very nice. I have a feeling in the coming years, my opinion of the tiny screen ones that I use currently is going to change. Because yes, it is very, very nice. The Ledger X, the Ledger Flex, the Ledger Stacks, the newer Descent wallet, the newer Trezor wallets. They've got these wonking huge screens in comparison to the old hardware wallets. It does look nice. They do look nice. A lot easier to see. All right, let's get back over to our news before I let the time get away from me entirely. All right, let's come on over here and let's look at that comment that I had made earlier and the idea that we could definitely see lower overall crypto prices, at least for a time. Bitcoin to 40K. Macro analyst Luke Groman turns bearish on Bitcoin. Global macro analyst Luke Groman dialing back his Bitcoin enthusiasm, warning that the top crypto looks vulnerable as macro conditions, quantum risk narratives, and technicals shift. All right. Global macro analyst Luke Groman has turned near-term bearish on Bitcoin, even saying that a drop to the $40,000 range is possible in 2026. He argues that the number one crypto looks vulnerable. Recent appearance on the Risk Reversal podcast, Groman largely stuck by the core debasement trade thesis for fiat currencies and hard assets, but said that gold and certain equities were doing a better job than Bitcoin of expressing that view, adding basically everything but gold and the dollar are likely to get waylaid. The debasement trade thesis is a bet that governments will quietly reduce the real value of their debts through inflation and currency weakening. So investors shift out of fiat and into scarce or real assets like gold, commodities, and Bitcoin that are expected to better hold their purchasing power over time. And so this right here is the major reason that I wanted to talk about this article, not because I wanted to imagine how low can we go in terms of prices and things of that nature. Needless to say, $40,000 Bitcoin, we're probably looking at XRP under $1 again, just as a heads up, guys. And so, assuming something of that is possible, we would be looking at a massive drop in the valuation of the other quote-unquote altcoins outside of Bitcoin. But what I was most interested here is the debasement trade thesis. Because this is something we have talked about in many different ways, but we've never talked about it titled as the debasement trade thesis. This bet that governments are currently quietly reducing the real value of their debt through inflation and currency weakening. Now, we all know that is true. I've talked about this one a bunch of times. I've talked about this one with John Dowling and with Pops. We know that the United States government is currently pushing a stable coin narrative onto the world. We're attempting to get more and more people hooked to our currency, and we're continuing to inflate it away. Ultimately, we know if the Russian minister and his interview a few months ago, where he says that the United States intends on massively manipulating the value of the dollar and revaluing gold in order to settle all of the US debt in one fell swing. What is that? Well, in other words, that would be the debasement trade thesis. And so the idea here is that this is exactly what the United States government is currently doing, is that the United States is currently debasing its own currency and the real value of our debts. And so that was what actually made this one very interesting to me, beyond just the fact that we should keep in mind that overall it is very, very possible Bitcoin could go back down to $40,000. As a matter of fact, it would not actually be that weird if Bitcoin did. Bitcoin has always, on its cycles, tended to actually drop below previous all-time highs of previous cycles. This has occurred essentially every time that we've gone back in to a price exploration phase. And so it is very, very, very possible. There is in no way is it not a possibility that we could see $40,000 Bitcoin in the year of 2026. We could see lower than that. And no way do I believe that that is not possible. But what I do think is most important right here is understanding the why of what's going on in the world right now. And debasement trade thesis is currently one of the top running answers for what the world's governments are up to. All right. Well, that's a great question there, Frank. Let me pull that one up. Franco, question: will the Clarity Act decouple XRP away from Bitcoin? That's something that I think we're already starting to see in certain ways. Franco, we're starting to see the cryptocurrency market break away from its Bitcoin addiction. But ultimately, Frank, I don't think that it will entirely decouple it yet. What really needs to happen for Bitcoin and XRP to decouple, and really for all of the cryptocurrencies to decouple, is for that moment to occur where we stop viewing cryptocurrency as a leviathan and we start viewing them as separate sectors. What's happening right now is that people view cryptocurrency and they view their crypto and they view all the other cryptos as all being in competition with each other. They're all the same. Bitcoin is in competition with Ethereum, and Ethereum is in competition with XRP, and XRP is in competition with Solana, and people view it that way. And until that stops, I think we're going to continue to have this problem because that viewpoint isn't logical. XRP and Bitcoin are not the same. They don't serve the same purpose. They're not the same. They're really not even close. They utilize the same underlying technology, blockchain technology, and that's really what they have in common. But we're beginning to see this occur, Frank, where we're starting to see people who are separating it. They're saying, well, this is a stable coin. These are the stable coin markets. This is the Bitcoin market. You know, what we need to start seeing is even more of a breakdown than that. Frank, we need to start seeing people genuinely placing things into sectors. You know, we would not sit there and say, well, Ford and Chevy, both car companies, you know, if you were going through and putting together an investment portfolio for retirement, you are probably not going to put your entire investment portfolio in the automotive industry. You're going to invest in stocks for banks. You know, you might go for Caterpillar for construction, heavy machinery. You might invest in a gold mining operation for the precious metals market. You're going to diversify. Ultimately, right now, people view cryptocurrency as them all being the same. And I think that's going to be the biggest breaking point, Frank, is when people no longer view it that way. I think we will have started to genuinely decouple. One thing, though, Frank, is not going to ever change. Or I shouldn't say ever change. One thing is going to remain true, though, consistently. When you look at markets, Frank, and you look at the way that cryptocurrency markets are set up, what you'll notice whenever you're looking at things like trading pairs, what you'll start to notice is look at this right here. Look at how we view the markets. And so we view the markets in the Bitcoin USDT pair. And so this continues to occur. We've got Bitcoin USD pair. We have got further down, we're seeing all stable coins. So all the major markets are Bitcoin tied to a stable coin, Bitcoin tied to a stable coin, Bitcoin tied to the euro, Bitcoin tied to stable coins. But wait here. See this? Now look at here. Binance has a trading pair that is Ethereum to Bitcoin. And so that's something that does need to be remembered. The way that liquidity works in cryptocurrency in many ways is through these different trading pairs. And these trading pairs do, in certain ways, begin to cause an effect onto the other cryptocurrencies. And so I do believe as long as we see this kind of remain true, where we see a lot of trading pairs that are between two separate cryptocurrencies, they're not necessarily US dollar or stable coin to crypto, but instead they're Ethereum to Bitcoin or they're Bitcoin to XRP, trading pairs of that nature, you're going to have a little bit of a correlation occurring in terms of their pricing. Altcoins need their own space to grow. Utility, absolutely, absolutely. And utility and fundamentals is going to become the key terms in the crypto space. It's going to stop being about hype. It's going to start being where people look at a cryptocurrency in the same way that you would look at a company. You know, you don't invest in a company that doesn't make money. If you don't believe that that's going to change at some point soon, why would you invest in a company that doesn't make money and you don't believe is ever going to make money? You wouldn't do that, would you? And I think that's how people are going to start viewing crypto. And that's how people need to start viewing crypto. We need to start looking at the value of XRP, not as XRP, the value of Ripple Labs, the company that runs XRP. That is the value. That is where they're generating growth. That's where they're buying more companies. That is where they are generating more value. And so I think that's something absolutely, Frank. I think you're right. We need to separate it because they are separate. They're not the same. They serve different purposes. And so we need that separation, and we really need to allow the utility token market to grow on its own. So that it can. A lot of amazing utility tokens have died because of this connection. A lot of different ones have died because of this connection. Because when you're sitting actually in the decentralized finance space, and so let's go back up with this page right here. When you're a newer cryptocurrency, you're usually not on centralized exchanges. You have to pay centralized exchanges to be on there. So if you're a new crypto utility token, you serve an amazing purpose. You know, I don't know what that is. We're just going to imagine. It's the bee's knees. Well, you're a little company. You're a little token, little project. You're going to be stuck in the decentralized finance space because you're not going to have the money to afford to get onto a centralized exchange. It costs a lot. And so that's going to leave you over here in the DeFi space, DEX, decentralized exchange space. And what occurs here very, very often is something like this, Metal X, XMD, tied to Bitcoin. And so the way that this liquidity pair actually works on a decentralized exchange is it balances each other. They balance. And so essentially, if the value of Bitcoin in this trading pair starts to go down, what happens to the value of XMD? It goes down because of the nature of the trading pair. It's how they fundamentally work. The trading pair is trying to balance itself. It's saying that a lot of people, essentially, it's confused. It's trying to balance the value of Bitcoin and the value of XMD. But it's saying that one XMD is equal to this much Bitcoin. It's not saying this much XMD is worth this many US dollars. It's saying it's worth this much Bitcoin. And so when the price of Bitcoin goes down, what just happened to the trading pair? The pair goes down. It's the same amount. It's still one XMD equals the same amount of Bitcoin, but ultimately it is plunging in value along with the Bitcoin that it's tied to. Bitcoin in many ways can be viewed as an anchor in both a positive and a negative way for small utility projects. Any project that operates in the decentralized finance space is going to be influenced by this to some degree. Cryptos that get onto centralized exchanges don't have to experience the same degree of this. But for the little guys, Frank, it's a killer. It's an absolute killer. When the market crashes and you're pegged or you're paired to something like this, it destroys the project because you now suddenly do not have enough liquidity in the pool to maintain stability. You don't have enough liquidity, you don't have enough funding, and your price is plummeting. And so what happens when your price is plummeting? Your holders start to sell. And so that just compounds it. Franco, that's why I only have altcoins. Hey, altcoins, I love small cap cryptocurrencies. I love looking around for the next big winner. It is a very dangerous space, but when you find one, it's extremely rewarding. Nature Girl, I have no questions. Just saying hi and looking forward to see XRP skyrocket. Oh, well, Nature Girl, glad to have you joining us. And I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Mile High Trish, a review of the different sectors in which crypto is where would be interesting. That's a great idea, Mile High Trish. We should do that. We should do that one. I should do a whole show where we just go through and we kind of show some of the different sectors. And break down which cryptos fit into which ones, at least maybe out of like the top 20 cryptos. We could probably go through and I could break down the top 20, top 50 cryptos into what technical sector, what use case are they built for? That's a great idea, Trish, a great idea. All right, let's go through. Looking at the time, we're about to run out of time, so I'm going to run through my last articles, and then I'm going to go run off for the day, let everyone get on with their Monday. But let's look at this one because, well, the markets are doing terrible, but Visa creates a stablecoin advisory team as on-chain dollars go mainstream. Sorry there, guys. I got a sneeze that's teasing me at the moment. It'll show up in just a second, I'm certain. But so, yes, Visa's new stablecoin advisory arm shows how on-chain dollars have gone from experiment to a core payment rail as banks and fintechs treat stablecoins as crypto's killer app. And so, yes, Visa moving forward on stablecoin markets. JP Morgan launches its first tokenized money market fund on Ethereum. The new Ethereum-based fund backed by JP Morgan allows qualified investors to earn US dollar yields and subscribe or redeem using cash or stable coins. So one of the world's largest banks holding $4 trillion in its asset management arm. The fund, My On-Chain Net Yield Fund, will trade under the ticker MONY, and it is available on the public Ethereum blockchain. JP Morgan said in an announcement shared with Cointelegraph on Monday. Launched by Kinexys, digital assets, JP Morgan's proprietary tokenization platform is a 506c private placement fund providing qualified investors the opportunity to earn US dollar yields. With Morgan money, tokenization can fundamentally change the speed and efficiency of transactions. And so, yes, we continue to see the market struggling. We continue to see prices down, but look at what the major financial institutions are spending their money on. We'll note one thing here. When they say qualified investors right here, what they most likely mean are accredited investors, aka people with a lot of money. And so I don't think Zester is going to be allowed to participate in JP Morgan's money app, but I'll try. Maybe they mean qualified in a different way. Maybe they mean it in a different way. But yes, another massive, massive move into the tokenization space. And it is tokenization, tokenization, tokenization. You're never going to, you're going to get tired of this word if you're not already tired, but you're never going to hear the end of it. Tokenization is the future of the financial system. They're going to tokenize anything they can find. Everything is going to go through tokenization. At this point, well, it's the tokenization of a money market. And so that one will be interesting to see where it goes. Also will be interesting to see whether qualified investors means accredited investors or whether it's qualified in a different fashion, like I pass a test and I'm qualified. I don't know, but they're very vague on that one. It's reminiscent, remember, of World Liberty Financial, the Trump cryptocurrency project that came out during his campaign, where only accredited investors in the United States were allowed to participate. That's where I kind of wonder if that's what JP Morgan is saying, or whether they have some other definition of qualified. But we will find out together on that one. And for the last article of the day to leave y'all with, SEC has dropped 60% of crypto cases after Trump returned to office, according to the New York Times. This is just extremely positive news for growth in the market. We already knew this was happening. We were already very, very, very aware because we've seen it. We've seen the XRP cases. We've seen the SEC dropping all the issues with the different ETFs. We're aware that the SEC is dropping it, but to see it placed into a numerical sense, over 60%, it's a pretty good start. It's a pretty good start for the Trump administration. And hopefully that will continue. And so, all right, guys, that will be the last of them for me. The only other thing I had today was what we've already talked about. Gold markets, silver markets continuing to look extremely, extremely strong. Silver at $63 or $63.36 on bid, and gold sitting at $4,300 on bid. So very, very strong over there. Stock market, not near as strong today. So, all right, guys, thank you all so much for joining me. Surfer44, sorry, there, I'll try to get this one answered, then I'll finish saying goodbye. Surfer44, good morning, Seth. Still have issues trying to transfer from Coinbase to Ledger Nano S Plus. I believe I set it up correctly. Any recommendations? Ledger Live or Ledger Wallet the same? Ledger Live is your user interface, Surfer. And so the better way to look at that one is that it's your user interface. Surfer, I don't know. Did you watch the video where I go from Coinbase to Ledger with XRP? I do have a video on that one. But Surfer, I may need to update that video. Because they change things on the user interface and they change where the buttons are located. And so let me know on that one, Surfer. If it's not in the video or the video is not working, let me know, and that'll be a really good idea for a video that I can rewatch. And so, okay. All right. Yeah, Surfer. Okay. I will have to go back and see if anything has changed. And so that may be a really good idea for a new updated tutorial on transferring it over to your ledger. And I'm assuming this is XRP also, Surfer 44. I remember when we talked last, I believe it was XRP, and that you were trying to get it over to your ledger wallet. I'll have to look into it. I might have to make a video just for that one, Surfer. And so, sorry though that it's giving you a hard time, but I know we can get it figured out. And so, all right, guys, I'll keep that one in mind, Surfer, and be looking into it for you. Otherwise, everyone have an amazing week. I will be back on Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll hang out and talk crypto again. And so love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. See you soon.